here's where we are now. We're gonna kind of kick off things today with taking a bunch of your questions.
Yep.
We get so many. Brandis has jumped in with us on this in the past and love her perspective. I would start out here, and this isn't a question, this is an observation that I think everybody recognizes. It is winter, okay? I know.
What?
I know.
I'm shocked.
It is
shocked, I tell you.
It is
When did
winter.
this happen?
There is snow on the ground
Yep.
across the country in places. Usually when we're doing this, the normal places expect it to be cold and have snow. There's snow across the country in places right now that you didn't expect. So part of winter and part of the new year and part of why we chose to do this at this time of year is we recognize we're coming out of winter and we're kicking off a new year. So let's think about where we are. We're post-holidays, we're post-election, we're new year, we're in a reset with businesses everywhere. So as we look at the reset and we look at how do businesses take advantage of the reset, how do sellers and marketers take advantage of all this, I would just offer up in the beginning that we all have a lot of conversations, but if together we can all start collaborating and move from conversation to collaboration, I think we have a chance to take advantage of the reset that we're all in right now. Agree? Fair?
I will always agree with you, Derron.
Yeah, it is true. And this is something, actually, we kind of touched on this yesterday a little bit, is because now we're living in a world that is hybrid or you're 100% on your own. Sometimes this is the worst person to listen to. That self-talk becomes a little bit negative. You start looking at the darker side of life, and there's no one there to pick you up. There's nobody at the coffee machine saying, because you're the only one at the coffee machine. So what we're looking at is kind of think of this as a day and a half that we're all gathering together. We've got our folks at the stations, but we've also got our customers there as well. Is that cool or what? To kind of pick each other up. To say, you know what, we've got this together, and we are so important to the communities that we serve.
It's true. Well, and also, there's always people who will naysay and talk a little doom and gloom. When COVID hit, everybody's, oh my gosh, it's terrible. When economy, we have a recession. Regardless of which administration in power, half the country thinks it's all terrible and everything's bad and we were better off before or after or whatever. The thing is, whenever something goes wrong, like COVID, there are categories that boom during that time.
Yep.
Amazon, stopping and picking up your things in a lane, which notice no Best Buy and Target, that French store. Target. They still, you can pull into the lane, they will bring out your things to you. Now you can return them that way. So whenever you start thinking in my small town, in my big town, whatever happens this year, good or bad, when you start hearing the negative talk, take a moment and say, wait, who benefits during this time? Because there's always someone, and those are your new clients.
Well said. Let's jump into the questions. Yeah. If you've got questions for us this morning, Brian gave you the text line earlier. You're going to be able to send this, ask questions throughout the day with all our presenters. If you have a couple of questions you want us to try to address this morning, we will. We've got questions that you've sent us ahead of time, and this is the first one. I've got a bunch in here. I'm just drawing them out.
Oh, yeah, they're already starting to roll in a little bit. So you keep going, but I'll toss up the text.
Okay, that's perfect. So first one. This question comes out of Pennsylvania, and it just says, I need help handling objections from my customers. So we always get objections. People always want to talk about it. We populated these and so we won't try to repeat. But hey, listen, I think if you're in sales, you got to expect objections. That's when we go into it thinking we're not going to get them, it always causes problems. But Speed, handling objections, what are a couple tips you got?
You know, the best one I actually learned from a guy named Craig Jacobus out of Knoxville, Tennessee. And I've used it ever since then, but Craig, I just gave you complete credit for that. And what he had, and I use as well, it was the objection box. All right. So what happened is I would ask my sales teams, I still do it to this day. I say, okay, I want you to take 10 minutes, 20 minutes. We're going to write down every objection you can think of. You know, you're too expensive. My ratings stink, whatever. Just write it down. Keep the pen going. We cut it up into strips, similar to what you did with those questions. Then we took them, we folded them up, we put them in the box. And in every sales meeting, at least once or twice a month, I would bring out the dreaded objection box. We'd pass it around. It was wherever it stopped, they would reach in, grab it, and it was like, you're overpriced. How do you keep up? That sort of a thing. And they got to be prepared to answer it. And then we would come together as a team and say, this is our consensus answer. This is what we think will be our best practice answer. And we would just repeat that all the time. And after a while, people didn't fear the objections anymore because they already knew what to say.
You're right. Being prepared for something you know is coming, and we all know it's coming, so you should not be unprepared, is the secret to not fearing it. That doesn't mean it's not uncomfortable. It doesn't mean you don't like it, that you're going to like it, but you know it's coming. The thing I usually used was to turn it back on the client. I'm flattered that they're interested enough to give me an objection, rather than just, throw me out the door or hang up on me.
I've had both.
Yes, haven't we all? So if they're giving me an objection, it shows there's enough interest to give me that. So my response is to immediately ask a question, because then I have time to gather my thoughts, and say, it sounds like you have a concern about the cost of the campaign, if it's money. What concerns you about that? And then let them talk. More often than not, they would talk themselves back it before I said anything else, which, you know me, I love to talk. And they would just sign the contract. It sounds to me you have a concern about whether this will work for you. Can you tell me why you feel that way? Because you've already presented. So let them talk themselves back into it. Have your answers ready when they give you a genuine reason.
Right.
And you say, I can understand why you'd feel that way. And then you have an answer if you even need it.
Many cases, the objection is just, it's the first step to try to get you out the door.
Yeah.
So if you're prepared for the objection, you don't let it rattle you. Deep breath, breathe, okay? Be prepared. How you handle that objection in many cases is going to determine their next step. So we're all going to get objections.
Yes.
That's a good one.
And I like what Brandis said. Hey, I'm flattered that you care enough about this to give me an objection. That's the first step towards you doing some business.
Yep.
At least they're engaging with you. So try to see it as a positive and not just a negative, and be prepared for them. Exactly. Next question. This comes out of the great state of Texas for you, okay? Okay, here we go. How do I balance building good relationships with hitting my sales month? I don't think those are separate of each other.
They're not mutually exclusive.
I understand the question. How do I balance building good relationships with hitting my okay, give you a shot. Brandis, go.
Well, okay. Well, you're right. They're not mutually exclusive, and yet sometimes we have things within ourselves, or our client has them, that begin to get in the way of what we're trying to do. I'm a big socializer. I always get in trouble at work for socializing too much, which is working at home now. I can only talk to my cats. Doesn't mean I don't socialize too much, but it's hard to excuse it. So if you find yourself socializing with your client more than moving the business forward, you've got to keep yourself on track.
Good point.
You can mix them, but is what I'm doing now helping me and my client reach their goals? Some of us just fear conflict. And so it's very hard to ask for the order or ask them to increase what they're spending, because we don't want to upset anybody. And that is a serious thing in you. So you learn that what I'm asking for benefits them. Have facts on the benefit of increasing your spend is, and then increased return on investment, increased brand awareness. Have answers for those things that are frightening you, and you can move yourself toward your goal.
Yeah, the one thing you have to, I think you make up a very valid point, is I think we're all pretty social people. I know the three of us are. What you don't want to be is a commercial visitor. Hey, good to see you again, and just sit there and shoot the day. What you want to do, though, is kind of go back to what Amanda talked about yesterday in terms of blocking out your time. Block out your time, and what you want to do is say, look, I want to spend X amount of time with my key customers. These are my ideal customers. These are the folks I want to have more of as we grow, kind of going back to what we talked about yesterday as well. And also make sure you've got X amount of time every day, every week to talk to new customers. Some of that's going to be just starting a conversation through an email. Some of that's going to be actually talking face to face. One thing we're finding, this kind of came up with Jason, it's okay if you drop by and see somebody in your town, as long as you've got a reason to be there and you're not just pitching a package or whatever. So yeah, plan it out, plan your day, make sure you've got that balance, because when you're working with existing customers on hitting your budget, you're communicating with that customer and you're working on relationships.
Here's the reality. The key to hitting your budget is the depth of the relationships with your clients.
Yep.
Okay, so now I'm going to tell you, and I'm going to make managers uncomfortable when I say this. Managers, you have to be patient with your sellers, because when we put so much pressure that it's about getting something done today before the relationships are there, now we feel like they are exclusive of each other. So hitting budget is directly related to your relationships. So I think for you to have more success, we have to have deeper and better relationships, and we do understand that that takes time.
One of the things we talked about yesterday is having that depth of contact. If your depth of contact for you folks that are basically agency based, it starts and ends with the media buyer. Guess what? The decision maker for that entire program, they're not even that building at that particular point. Their needs are completely different. So one of the things you need to do is outline what are those 5 different types of buyers out there. The person that owns the problem, their boss, the person that's in charge of the checkbook, and then actually find out who those people are and make it a point to fill in those blanks, get to know those people as well. Because depth of contact in one place alone, you need help, and what we're looking for are influencers, and they're everywhere.
Next question comes from South Dakota, our friends in South Dakota. So thanks for this question. And what are effective solutions for my business during times when it feels like my pocket is a little tighter than usual? Okay?
Can you hit me again on that one?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. What are effective
This time in English.
What are effective solutions for our business during times when pockets are tight? If I'm understanding this, what
client's pockets.
That's right.
Okay.
The client's pockets. So what guidance can we give to help that business to understand they got to keep going, even when I think the perception is moving forward, at least in the short term, is that the pockets are a little tighter. Now, what we did here yesterday from Corey is 92% of businesses out there expect to spend the same or more in 2025. So listen, we're all gloom and doom sometimes, but I will tell you, there is so much good for us to look forward to right now. When you hear 92% of the businesses expect to spend the same or more. Here's the mistake, in my opinion. I'm buying you all some time here, okay? The biggest mistake that we're making with businesses right now is this. Businesses are splintering their message. A basic fundamental in marketing is whatever you do, you have to own something. And we're now in a world, because there's so much competition, that a business is doing a little bit here and a little bit here and a little bit here and a little bit here, and we're just settling for that. As a business owner, you have to know, you have to own something. You have to own a message. You have to own an audience. And the more something is splintered, the weaker it is and the less effective it is. And that's what I worry about. We got to be thinking about, if pockets are tighter and we think that they're going to spend less, we got to make sure that we give them more results for the money they're spending than ever. And it can't be that they're splintering their message too many places.
Yeah, listen, we all hit times when we think we're out of money. Very often, we're not as out of money as we like to think, businesses and people. That's why we have credit cards. Not saying run them up, but when you really want something, you will find the money for it. So my advice on this is something we should be doing before we get to this point. You can still do it at this point. You must have success stories of businesses that have been successful. And by the way, I often see these, here was the client's objective, here's what we did, and here were the results. And the results is a list of deliverables. This many spots, this many, it's like, no, those are deliverables. I hope they got that. They paid for that.
Right.
What
That's
were
basics.
the results of it? How many new customers? How many cars went out the door? How many new haircuts? So when you're working with your clients, remember you're always tracking and measuring something we like to let go of because we're afraid of the answer, and get that return on investment. That way you have success stories, but when you come into a client and says, I'm not sure about the money or whatever, it's like, let's look at what you have spent and what you have made in increased business. Because advertising done right should be income, not outgo in time. It should become a revenue stream, not an expense item. And if that's not where it is, then something's not right.
You know, all right, a couple things from yesterday again that came out of this. First of all, Corey, as you mentioned, said, look, the vast majority said, I'm going to spend as much this year. Another percentage said, I'm going to spend more than this year. Another group said, I didn't spend as much last year, and I realize now that's a mistake. All right. Now that may not be what they're telling you when you walk through the door. My pockets are tight. I do the same thing. I walk in. I don't walk in throwing cash in as I'm walking through the front door. I want to basically be told how to invest those dollars. So what are you doing when you walk through the front door is a big question I want to ask you. If you're walking in and you're just talking about the package du jour, if you're talking about tags and sponsors, there's a place for that, but that's a filler. Yeah. What you want to do is walk in and say, I saw a piece of research on your industry. I thought of you, and I got an idea I think is really going to work for you. Do you have a couple minutes to listen? There's nothing in there about well, my pockets are sewn shut. They're going to want to at least hear you out. So what are you walking through the door with is really going to help open up that door?
Mahalo to Hawaii for this question, and I know
what time is it there?
You may not be awake yet, but I know you'll be joining us when you do. Great question. How do I make sure a new client turns into a long-term customer? So how do I make sure a new client turns into a long-term customer? Great question.
The answer is actually remarkably simple.
Yeah.
Results that they can track and measure. And again, you show them how to turn that outgo into income. Show them how with your group to turn that advertising expense into a revenue stream. When I'm getting clients a 2-to-1 return on their investment with me over 12 months, I guarantee they have Stockholm Syndrome and they can't afford to leave me even when they become cross with me. I know it's shocking that can happen. But some became very cross with me because I'm quite direct with them, but they would say, I can't cancel because I'll lose $100,000 a year if I cancel with her, so I just have to put up with her brashness. And she turns out to be right 90% of the time.
Brash Brandis?
Brash, that's me.
Speed?
There are two types of campaigns. There's short-term tactical, long-term strategic. And you can't just do short-term tactical.
Right.
That's McDonald's doing their barbecue sandwich, which for God's sakes, why do they have a barbecue sandwich? But anyway, that's a different story.
What is that?
Yeah, but then there's
talking about the barbecue sandwich or the McRib?
The McRib, which is, that's not even food.
This hour is brought to you by McDonald's.
I don't know why McDonald's isn't the sponsor of this, but anyway, keep going.
We're screwed. No, but if you're thinking, if you only think short-term and tactical of today's dollars today, and let's sell this little package and let's sell this little sponsorship, that's what you're going to get in return.
That's what you're going to get.
Yeah. When you walk into them and you say, let me lay out to you what I see your year looking like, that this is the kind of campaign that if you think about that funnel we talked about yesterday, where does that funnel begin? We got to first put you on the radar screen. People don't know you exist. From there, we have to create some desire and some understanding, and then we've got to actually give them the action to throw the kids into the car seat and head your way. And I don't do that in a one-week campaign.
That's right.
So here's what the first is going to look like. Explain it to them. Walk them again through, here's what the advertising campaigns look like, and this is how we build a brand. And then just stick with them all the way through. You're constantly talking about, we're about to finish this one up. We're about to step over to the next phase of this. Any questions you have at this time? Okay, let's get moving. And then just keep it going.
Only thing I would add to that is, as shameless plug, at 1 o'clock, we're going to talk about customers and how we can have more success with them.
That's shameless.
I know that is shameless. But here's the reality. If we're only going to get so many yeses a year from a client, then we got to make sure we deliver for them. And if you sell them something that they don't need, that's not going to work for them, there's no chance that customer is going to turn into that client's going to turn into a long-term customer. So Brandis said results. I totally agree. If you only get one yes a year, why would you sell them something that doesn't have a chance to work? So just remember this. Brian, I think you got a poll question lined up. Can we do this?
I do. Let's go ahead and open up the poll again. So the question is, how confident are you in meeting your monthly sales goals? We're going to ask for your input. So if you've not scanned the QR code, bottom left-hand corner. So once again, the question, how confident are you in meeting your monthly sales goals? The poll is open. Hey, gang, we've got a little bit of delay. I don't think I said that before. We got about a minute delay from where we are. So it takes a minute or two for us to start getting those results spin. But scan that QR code, bottom left-hand corner, and let us know how confident you are.
As we're talking about confident hitting your sales goals, I would always share this. I think things occur in 90-day cycles as we see this coming. Mm-hmm. And the work you're doing today is going to pay dividends 90 days from now. So here we set the end of January, February, March, April. success you're having at the end of April is going to be really decided on how you're going about doing business now. And so when I look at this and, somewhat confident appears to be leading right now, and that's not surprising.
Yeah.
I think the thing that is troublesome a little bit is when I see how high that not confident number is.
Yeah.
In mid-month January. That's a fresh budget.
Well, but in mid-month January, we're often running into fourth quarter, you lose so many weeks of sales time. You lose
you do.
Thanksgiving week.
Yep.
You lose the week of Christmas, the week after Christmas, even the week before, because all your clients are off at Christmas parties, and so are we. So coming into January, very often, if we haven't pre-sold January, starting in September, October, be talking to those tax people then, remember, you're going to lose nearly 4 weeks of selling time. So you come in to January behind the curve, and suddenly you're like, oh my gosh, it's January 20. I'm not going to hit my budget, and you're scrambling. That 90-day thing, you got to be working 90 days ahead. Plus, it takes time just to get the meeting. So start trying to get the meeting 90 days ahead so you can have them on when it's time to be on.
I bet, I would predict, if we did this same poll at the end of today, and we're not going to do that, but if we did, I would hope that somewhat confident and very confident would be higher and not confident will be lower, because if you invest this day with us, you're going to be better equipped to hit your budgets.
Yes.
Okay? The other thing, if you will commit to yourself, and I'm going to talk about consistently over occasionally at 1 o'clock, but if you will consistently commit yourself to engaging with 10-Minute Trainer Network, and watching one 10-minute or less video a day, I would predict that the very confident number is going to go up and the not confident number is going to go down. It's about you investing in yourself. But I love that. I love that somewhat confident is highest.
Yep.
But that not confident troubles me.
Hey, I got one that I want to piggyback here. Is it real? This is a question. You know what? I'm not going to name locations.
Okay.
The text line I'm going to try to keep on questions anonymous, right?
Yeah, perfect.
That way you all can ask your questions, and I'm not going to name who that is. So, is it realistic for an account executive to sign a sales agreement every week? And if so, what suggestions do you have to make that happen?
So the first thing I would want to know is what size account list are you working off of?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm seeing account list sizes that are too big, but a direct on the street seller, is it realistic to do a contract a week? I think it depends on your account list size. The reality is, if you're consistently doing customized proposals with your clients and their needs-based problem solving, here's what we're trying to accomplish. And you keep enough of those in your funnel, where it gets difficult on having success on a weekly basis is when we go weeks without really planting any seeds. So I know it sounds like I'm not answering the question. I think it is possible, but there's factors there we don't know about.
Yeah, I worry that if that becomes the focus, because then you're focused on trying to hit that weekly number.
Right.
'Cause I had clients it took me 3 weeks to sell, but it was an annual for 6 figures.
Right.
I had clients, one client, my boss kept saying, deregister, they're never going to sign. It took me 6 months to close them. But it was a $300,000 annual who came back year after year and kept increasing. So you want to focus on success. And listen, if I close or you close 3 this week and none next week, I'm not worried about you closing 1 every week. I'm worried about, I'm more focused on you reaching numbers that are the best you can do. Whatever number I put out as your goal, are you doing the best you can do? And are we doing the best for our clients to get them the best results? Because if they're getting results, they'll never leave. I worry about focusing on I have to get 1 every week, because you're going to lose focus on the clients.
Yeah, I mean, that almost smells of sandbagging just
Yeah.
around the corner of I'll hold this one back for next week.
Exactly.
You know, it was brought up again yesterday. It was talked about. In fact, we had 2 different people to use that rock and sand and gravel analogy, that you start with your biggest rocks, right? Those are your annuals. Those are your big spenders. Those are the folks that do, quarterly or whatever. You start with those folks, and those will be sprinkled throughout the year. But then you're going to be filling in all the time. And it could be with your big rock folks. It could be that they have add-ons or additional sales. You've got other people. Maybe you're just starting to bring in. You have some special packaging and sponsorship and tags, things like that. So if you're looking at a combination across the board, rather than saying, do I have 1 a week, I would say I'm going to have a minimum of 52 a year. and kind of look at it from that standpoint.
Well, I think it's important to remember that in business and sales, the bigger the item, the larger the number, the longer the buying cycle.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay? It takes someone longer to make a decision to buy a new car than it does to buy a new television.
A McRib.
Or a McRib.
Oh, that was an easy one.
And so here's the thing. Is it possible for you to have a sale every week? Maybe it is if you're not asking for enough money.
Yeah.
If you're asking for enough money, remember this, and I don't know who to give credit to on this one, but it's ask for enough to be taken serious.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not asking for enough to get them results, and you're just asking for smaller items on a shorter buying cycle, then yes, maybe you can every week, but the reality is that may not get results for them, and it may not build the long-term business that
You know,
need.
and that brings up a point. If we're asking for smaller amounts every week, what are we doing? We're training our customer to buy small increments.
Yeah.
And that's counterintuitive. I mean, we're trying to
It's not
buy
how it
results.
works.
Yeah, it's not how it works.
Brian?
Actually, I'm going to toss this one to Brandis. Brandis, you, Jen, and I had a chance to go out to dinner on Tuesday night, and
Yes.
we talked about this specifically. How do you create a good VBR in an email?
In an email?
In an email.
Well, first of all, tune in at 11 Central Time because I will be covering this
Look
very
at you all
point.
on your shameless
What are you doing
plug.
plugging your session?
I will be answering this very question. But yes, no, listen, the VBR, people tend to focus on the wrong thing. We tend to think it's about us. And to get the appointment now, it's got to be about them. When people say, hey, I'm so, Hildegard Hamhocker, Greater Narnia Broadcasting, and let me tell you all about my company. They don't care.
No.
They really don't care that
No.
you're the biggest this or you're number one. Everybody's number one at something, right? So I'm calling about something about them that you've done some research so that the first thing they say is, or I'm emailing about, I'm reaching out about, they're singing my song. That's us. You want those little soft yeses. So tune in at 11 and I'll be answering this very, very question. My email will be up. You can always email me about this later because I'll probably raise more questions than answers. And happy to take care of that for you, but stand by.
Brought to you by
I'm just going to
McRib.
say,
Brought to you by McDonald's.
That was a good
McRib.
tease there.
Bum,
So.
bum, bum, bum.
just be careful, right? You've already had somebody out of a specific state that said, "Hey, you guys got a lot to live up to." Specifically, Derron. So
Yes.
it's like, hey, that'll make them sweat a little bit.
Ouch.
So,
Ouch.
Mine was
Ouch.
But I was
you
prescient
know,
enough to think
right?
about
You guys
that
are coming to
question.
these sessions a little bit,
So as you're saying this, Brian, I reach in here and just randomly grab out a question, and
Yeah.
it's.
I'm going to tell
it's-
about
and
here's
it's-
what I did yesterday.
Yeah, it's from my home state of Kentucky. The question came from. I feel like too many of my clients and customers have unrealistic expectations. That person that probably has unrealistic expectations of what I'm going to live up to at one. But it just says, what should I do? It feels like my clients have
Yeah.
unrealistic expectations. What should I do?
You want to go first on that?
Yeah, I mean, what I talked about yesterday in my session, it's already done, is that we talked about when you go in, you have to educate your customer.
Yes.
That's the first thing you have to do. You have to identify their needs, real needs, but then you have to educate them. And one of the things you want to say is, look, I am not in the miracle production business. That's not what we do. That's done down the hall. What we do is we talk about brand awareness and marketing, reaching those individuals. We start the conversation on broadcast. We take those conversations deeper with digital, and it works beautifully together. We're in the word of mouth business, and I always like to say we're word of mouth on steroids. So we start that conversation and then say, this is what you could expect from step one. And just tell them up front and remind them throughout. Remember at this point, you're going to be hearing from friends and family because you're brand new, but you're not going to be hearing from anybody else. Week 2, you're going to be hearing from the competition saying, why are you advertising there? Just be aware. And then you're going to go into silence, so you're not hearing from anybody. Stay steady. Don't rock the boat. It's coming. And if you're letting us know across the board, here's what to expect next, there are no surprises. Matter of fact, if your competition comes in and tries to bash you, if you do it right, your customer's going to say, I knew you were coming.
Right on time.
Yeah.
Queen?
Yeah. Part of our job is managing those expectations. And we are in show business, but in some ways on the business side, we're in the reality business. And yes, we have those clients who think they're going to sign up with us and then 200 people are going to stampede onto their dealership on Saturday and buy all their cars. It would be lovely if they did.
Yep.
It's not going to happen. So look at the realities of how their business already runs. We're going to smooth it, make it better, but we have to manage it. And now, I have experienced, as probably you have, that even doing that, you sometimes have those clients who just can't seem to understand that I've run my commercial once and no one called and then accused me.
You look pretty comfortable. I'm not gonna lie.
It's not legal in Texas. But yeah, listen. My parent. I've been accused of my parents and I of performing unnatural acts by a client because they were just so angry that they ran their commercial one time and nobody called.
Yeah.
And then I talked them down off that ledge, and then the commercial ran again a couple of hours later, and they called up screaming to cancel. So I begged my manager, please let me. I will sell 2 people to replace this person who. Doesn't matter how much reality we show, how often we explain, they just don't get it. Let them go.
One phrase, if you will begin to use, will help reset expectations for your clients. Begin the process of, okay? If we will start using the language with our clients, in our proposals, and verbally with our clients, begin the process of. That says, none of this happens overnight.
Yep.
None of this is going to be
Process.
quick. But if you will begin the process,
We do it in
of,
stages.
And in the world of expectations, to someone in my home state of Kentucky, if you will start using begin the process of, that just kind of sends the message that this doesn't happen overnight.
And actually, if you take both of those, think about the car, because that is a huge purchase. It's probably our second biggest purchase we make. People don't go running through the front door saying, what do you got? I need it right now. When they're coming in, they're interested. They've done their online research. They probably narrowed you back to from several to maybe a few. And what's the first thing they want to do? They want to take a look at the car and they want to take a test drive. All right. So our campaign should not be, come in tomorrow and bring your trade in, and you're going to drive out with a new one. No, say, come in tomorrow. We'd like to start the conversation. We'd love to introduce you to our new line of cars. We got this brand new pickup truck. It's fantastic. It's a great seller. But you know what? Don't take our word for it. Come in. Let's drive it around the block. Let's see this thing. And bring people to the door first. Your folks or their folks can take care of selling them.
This segment brought to you by Dr. Pepper. Brian?
Yeah, I want to shift over. We talked a little bit about this with Jason yesterday, but I want to shift over to those folks that are fairly new or brand new to the industry. So I love this question. As a new person into advertising, how do I get new clients when a lot of my coworkers already have a majority of the business around us? What's a good game plan? Speed, Derron, and Brandis, I would love for you to just slightly talk about Jason as well on this, because Jason talked about how, oh gosh, I don't get the car dealership, I get this little donut shop.
Guy,
and
yeah.
then, but if you didn't tune in yesterday, this little donut shop is producing 7 figures, right? That's incredible. So can you chime in a little bit about for these newbies within the industry?
Okay. Well, when Brandis did this, I thought she was ready to go.
I am.
She was cold.
I'm too eager.
Okay.
Let the boys have their say.
Here's what I would say, is that this starts with the newbies and it starts with the veterans. And I could go, let me start with the veterans. If you're a veteran, your job is to be a mentor and to coach and teach the young ones. You had somebody that took you under their wing. So you gotta do the same. And if we're going to get people to stay and commit to sales longer, veterans play a big role. So we can never say again, they're never going to do anything. Or I had them, and all because we send the message to the new people that they're not. Circumstances change, okay? So that's the veteran message, okay? You got to support the people that we're bringing in. To those who are just starting, it's real easy for you to say, well, if I had their list, I'd be more successful. Well, you know what? That's an excuse.
Yep.
Okay? That's an excuse. And you're going to get into sales in about 6 to 9 months. You're going to be thinking it's time to go. And the reality is, every single one of those veterans that you look up to and you wish they had their list, at 6 to 9 months, they felt the same way. Okay? But they were stubborn and they pushed through it, and now they're glad because they went from a sales job to a sales career. Okay? So this is a lot more than you ask in the question. As the new person, you have to be willing to prospect. You got to turn over rocks. You got to pull up the centers. You got to walk into businesses. You've got to put yourself out there. You need to be doing your own commercial. You need to be promoting yourself. You need to come into this as though I'm going to turn a sales job into a sales career. And leadership, you got to support them, and you got to be patient. And you got to give them the tools, and you got to go with them. And I know this is a lot more than what I needed to get into with this question. But the reality is,
You ain't done.
it takes all of us to take that new one in a sales job and turn it into a sales career, but we're all responsible.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Can I get an amen to that?
Amen. Really, when you first started saying that, hey, this is a conversation for the newbies and the veterans, I thought you were going in a different direction.
Okay.
Because veterans, you got to start acting like a newbie, right? If you're talking to the same folks week in, week out, month in, month out, and attrition occurs, it just naturally occurs, you're going to be a newbie before you know it, if you're not constantly out there talking to new folks. So what we talked about yesterday is first of all, establishing a brand. You new folks, what is your brand? What are you known for in the marketplace? Odds are you're known for nothing because you're not even on the radar screen. They don't know you exist. So you could own something immediately. I'm Nicky New Kid. I have no clue. But do you really want to own that space in the minds of the consumer? So the one thing I found out by accident is because I was looking for an apartment shortage, is I found my lane. And I found my specialty. I needed an apartment, so I started researching it. I started talking to commercial realtors. They started telling me about other folks who were coming in, new people that didn't exist. And I got there 8-10 months before the veterans. They didn't even know it was coming. And eventually, I was a specialist when it came to apartments. And then I went on and made my specialty working with real estate companies and new developments. I did my homework. I found out here's where the developers make their money. They make that money on the last 15% of the houses that they sell. So I could speak their language. I became part of their team, and I was not Nicky New Kid. I was one of them. What real estate do you own right now? And if it's nothing or Nicky New Kid, your first step is you got to brand yourself, and you got to stay after that for your entire career. And at some particular point, you're going to find that donut shop. And you're going to find a guy at a donut shop that's not just selling donuts. He is a brilliant marketer, and he actually knows that if he could sell X amount more donuts to existing customers, he could add another $250,000. That's a real number. That's what they told us yesterday. And they don't just advertise that. They don't say that on their marquee when you walk in the door. You got to uncover that by being their partner.
And Speed, he also was talking about, don't come in and just try to sell him something. Come in and help him understand how he can go. Because he realized that his customers came in 3 times a year.
Yeah.
He said, if I could get them to 4 visits
that was it.
a year.
That was the donut hall.
Boom, it's $250,000.
Yep.
So we got to engage with our clients in a manner that does more than just try to peddle something to them.
Yes.
And I worry that's happening too often.
Position yourself of owning something in the minds of those consumers. Make them want to hear from you. And also give them a little something every time you walk in, along with learning about their business, you're learning about theirs. And if they're learning about marketing, you're learning about their business, a partnership will occur. And all of a sudden, it's not going to take you that long that you're going to start moving up that ladder. And those veterans are going to say, why are they getting all the good leads?
Nicky New Kid, eh?
Nicky
New Kid.
That's right.
New Kid, love that.
Brandis, you should know by now. If you do this and then you turn it over to us.
Oh, no,
You'll never get to talk again.
I just wanted you boys to get a word in. Yes, I love this. We all hear this. Anytime someone says to me, and it's far too often, it just makes me start a fire. They say all the good accounts are taken. No, all the obvious accounts are taken.
Ooh, that's good. Say that again.
All the good accounts are taken? No. All the obvious accounts are taken. That's why they're gone, because they were painfully obvious. So you've got to think differently. And you're new, so they don't know what's coming. They'll never see you coming. This is great. 2 places I love to prospect is in my colleagues' list of clients.
Late at night.
In their drawer. No. If Speed has an HVAC company, and just the one, who's that guy's biggest competitor?
Yeah, that's a good point.
I'm going to go for their competitor, okay? So everybody that's currently on the air, I'm going to find a competitor to each of them because they should be competing on the air.
Yep.
right? They compete in the yellow pages. They compete in the online. They compete everywhere. They should compete on our airwaves, our newspaper, our billboards, whatever business you're in, right? The second one is to look at that client list and say, who's missing? Who's missing? When a group has an event, let's say it's a pet adoption fair, they all send proposals to Purina. It's the obvious one. But who makes the cages and the leashes and the terrariums and the habit trails? Nobody's asking those companies to sponsor, and they have money. I love to go out to the edge of town to those big warehouses and distribution centers. They don't, if I personally work in radio, they're not advertising on radio because no one goes to the warehouse and buys a case of something. But they're constantly hiring people. Their churn is very high. So there's recruitment money in their human resources department, not an advertising budget. Go to human resources and they can advertise with us. We need forklift drivers. And then the next month we need, project coordinators, whatever they need. We need loaders. We need truck drivers. I can get an annual out of a warehouse because they're constantly hiring people and no one else thinks of them.
You know what? You just brought up a great point. Okay, so we're talking about, all right, for you new folks out there, right? And your headband out there says nothing because nobody knows what you do. What you want to do is say, you know what? I'm a recruitment specialist.
Bingo.
I'm a marketing recruitment specialist. Here's what my campaigns look like. And you just lay out not just the stuff that you sell, but also let's get beyond that and do your research, walk the walk, talk the talk, and be part of that. And that's a lady that's sitting there. And a lot of us have seen those people really flower and grow in year one.
People are always
Woo! Brian,
I'm busting a sweat
that was
on
32 minutes ago that you asked us that question.
Yeah, I don't even know what the question was. At this point, no. So, okay, let's talk a little bit about this, though, because now we're getting a lot of questions that shift over on the digital side, right? And I think that's a good one for everybody, veterans, newbies. How do you go into a market? What do you pitch? Do you do on air? Do you do digital? Do you do them together? Thoughts? How do you start that discussion? Let's shift over on digital. And I know we're going to be talking.
Yes.
We're going to be talking a lot about digital. Here goes Derron. We're going to talk a lot about digital this afternoon, but let's just go there for a little bit. Before, actually, guys, and we're coming up on Chris Lytle's session. We're really excited, but let's keep this Q&A going for, let's say, probably another 10-ish minutes.
Okay. Do you mind?
Go ahead.
Okay.
You brought the billboard.
Take it away.
Okay, so
No, take it away.
the question was we're getting a lot of questions about digital and how to incorporate, right? It's okay. So here's the best exercise, the best illustration. Some of you have seen me do this before, but businesses don't understand how to incorporate digital, and I worry that our sales force doesn't understand how to incorporate it. So let me give you a really bad illustration, but I think you're going to get it. So let's say my wife and I live in Kentucky, and this is our property, and I'm not an artist, and it's not to scale. Okay, but you put
small yard.
Yeah, it's a small. It's
Tiny lawnmower.
Don't make fun. So our driveway comes in here, pulls up to the top of the hill, comes in. Here's our house, and again, this isn't to scale. Okay, so we own about 5 acres, and I mow about 4 of it. Okay, so when it's time to mow my yard, I'm going to get on my 61-inch zero-turn lawnmower, gas, not electric speed. I'm going to get on my lawnmower, and here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start mowing my yard. Okay, the reason I'm getting on my 61-inch zero-turn lawnmower to mow my yard because it's what covers the majority of my yard most effectively. Okay, the 61-inch covers the majority of my property better than anything else. Here's what it's important for businesses to understand and for the sales force to understand is that my lawnmower is broadcast television and radio. Okay? Broadcast television and radio reaches more of the market than anybody else. Okay? No one else out there can reach the majority of the market like broadcast radio and television. So that's why I use it to mow the yard. But now here's where it gets cool, and here's where we're kind of I think missing it. Businesses have to understand, and we got to help them understand that down in this part of my property is a big patch of trees that my 61-inch zero-turn lawnmower can't get in there. So guess what? I have to fire up my weed eater. So I fire up my weed eater, and it lets me effectively target this part of my property. Over here on this side, there's an area of trees that honestly grass doesn't grow very well. So back in COVID, I went out, I rented a power seeder, and I just power seeded the heck out of this area right here. I mean, I was just power seeded it, okay? And I only focused inside this perimeter. Behind our house, there's a couple of beautiful dogwood trees between our driveway and our patio, and my 61-inch won't get in there, so I have to get my push mower out because my push mower allows me to target this area. So let's tie this together. When we talk about digital, digital lets us be more targeted. So the lawnmower covers the majority of the property. That's broadcast radio and television. Business community, you start out with what covers the majority of the market. That's where we start, okay? So we use broadcast radio and television to cover the majority of the market. Now we have all these tools that, whether this is SEO here, whether this is geofencing here, whether this is some targeted ads here, whatever the case may be, now all of a sudden we have an opportunity to focus on the entire market in a manner that we never have before. So Speed, I'll pull this off and I'll turn it over to you all. Here's the reality. It starts with broadcast radio and television because it's what covers the majority of the people. And then we use the digital opportunities to be more targeted, more focused, more interactive, and it lets you have more market share and reach more people in a healthier manner than ever before.
This obviously I've seen. Okay. Don't go into this.
Okay. Oh, sorry.
Obviously I've seen this before, but it finally occurred to me. I told you about this. I've got the Ego electric trimmer.
It's sad.
No, this is a trimmer.
Oh, the trimmer.
Yeah,
okay,
it's awesome. Yeah. But it's got a plug-in attachment. I saw a YouTube on this as a snowblower.
Nice.
Snowblower, right? I watched a bunch of reviews on it. I really did my research, and I bought it. I don't have a very big yard. I'm thinking this will be cool. Now, I do have a big driveway. I've got 3-car garage across there, right? They deliver it. It's 18 inches, okay? I got to tell you, it works beautifully. It's exactly as advertised. That sucker will throw a rooster tail 8 foot in the air, and it'll clear it right down to the driveway. But it's like doing my driveway and trying to shovel it with a soup spoon. So for those folks out there who say, I love digital, it works so well, they're trying to market with a soup spoon. So really, it works both ways. You need both to make this thing work.
It's important to recognize that there are businesses, and there are businesses out there that are watching and are realizing right now that you're only using a weed eater.
Mm-hmm.
You're trying to effectively target the entire market with just a weed eater.
Yeah.
If I was going to mow my entire property and try to just do it with a weed eater, it would take me forever. It would be inefficient. It wouldn't look good, and everybody would think I was crazy. But if you're just using digital and you're not supporting it with broadcast, you're trying to mow your entire market with a weed eater. Brandis?
Yeah. Listen, it's kind of frightening that so many people in successful businesses really don't understand how advertising works. And so they make a lot of mistakes, and then they're gun shy about advertising when we're trying to talk to them. Even more frightening is how many advertising salespeople have no idea how advertising works. And then they go in and they're selling packages. They're selling this because they know how to sell. They're selling it like it's aluminum siding or windows. And that is not the business we're in. So I love this because many people over the last decade have fallen for what's called shiny object syndrome. Digital became that. Digital's effective, but that weed eater's the new shiny object. I'm just going to do everything with that. You're going to exhaust yourself. So back to the client needs analysis, which we'll be talking about later. What is it that advertiser is trying to do? And sometimes they're not even sure. They're like, oh, I just want everybody to come in. It's like, no, we're going to help you narrow your thing. If you want to brand yourself across the market, broadcast, great place to go. If you are going to have a big sale on it's pepperoni pizza week and we need to move as many pepperoni pizzas as we want, well, then you've got your geofencing or something else to bring people in who just love pizza and preferably pepperoni pizza. So you use the tools that are needed to get done what they specifically want to do so you can track and measure the results. Now, sometimes you need to expand what they're trying to do. Sometimes you need to shrink what they're trying to do. But you use whatever tools work together best. And very often it is a combination.
Together best is the thing. And by the way, that's now autographed. If anybody would like to, auction this baby off, we'll be happy to mail it to you. Brian?
Yeah, so I want to ask this question. It's popped up 3 times, and it kind of piggybacks here a little bit. But what do you say to a client when they say they're going into a different direction?
Tell me more about that. What direction are you going?
I decided to spiral down.
And I think it's important,
I
right?
read.
As we talk about digital, as we talk about on air, as we talk about everything that we've got available to us these days to sell. How do you approach that? Where do you start? But it's popped up three times.
You know what?
Gang.
What we have here really says this. I think the first place we have to sell is us. That if we're still in the broadcast business, if we're still selling spots and sponsorships, stop that. We are in the solutions business. This is a lawn management solution opportunity that takes 3 different tools to make it happen. And if it snows, you're going to need more than an 18-inch, wide blower. So what you want to do is maybe use that analogy and start talking to them about if you're going into a different direction. I'm not sure what that direction is. It's reach, frequency, consistency, proper message, repeat as needed. It's always needed. Now let's talk about the tools you need to make that happen.
Right. Yeah, and it is. I love when you don't get a job you applied for and they always say, well, we're decided to go in a different direction. No, they haven't. They're going to fill that job.
Yeah.
Just not with you.
Yeah.
So very often that phrase is they're trying to let you down gently. So I love to immediately start asking questions. Why is that? What direction are you seeking to do? I do a little autopsy on what's been going on. What's not been working for you so far? What were you expecting to happen? What actually happened? And again, sometimes when they start answering those questions, they're like, well, actually, it's been working better than I thought it was. I would like to add this to okay, so we're not going in a different direction. We want to add this. Oh, by the way, you don't need to go to that digital company to do it because we can do that.
Yeah.
And they say, I had no idea you guys could do that.
Yeah.
Because we haven't let them know.
And I was going to say, I mean, folks are chiming in here too, right? That there's a time and place for this, right? I mean, it's where do we go? What direction do we go? And I think it's going to depend on the discussion with our clients.
So let me say this. Generally speaking, when I go in a different direction is when I get lost. Okay? All right? So what?
Camera.
I'm looking at, okay, sorry. So I'm talking to you.
You're going in a different direction.
I'm talking to you.
We're going in a different direction.
Here's the reality. I would ask them, okay, is it possible for us to go in a different direction together? If they're wanting to go in a different direction without you, in nearly every instant, it's because you probably haven't done a good job of leading them out of the forest.
That's exactly right.
Okay? If they're saying to you, I think I'm going to go in a different direction, I think that is probably the result that you haven't done a very good job of leading them down the right path.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, so at that point you can say, hey, would you give me an opportunity to go in a different direction with you?
Yeah.
But if the 3 of us are walking through the forest and we all go off on a different path, well, you know what? We're more vulnerable than if we do it together. And so I would just say, when they say, I think I'm going to go in a different direction, Brandis is right. We got to dig in. We got to find out more. We got to find out why. But you have to accept responsibility. If they're wanting to go in a different direction, then you probably haven't done the job that you needed to. So start now to make sure you begin to engage your clients so you don't get that response.
That you hit the nail on the head with is that if they're saying I'm going in a different direction, and if you don't know what that direction is up front, you did not do a proper needs assessment. If you're saying, okay, then let's go through and let's take a look at the direction that you're in and what I'm proposing and which part of this is going to change. So we're going to actually do a little something different on the reach side. We're going to try this instead. If you need to be able to tell them up front, this is what you told me you were doing. So what is that change? And if they don't do it, then they're just letting you down.
Let's go with this analogy, okay? I think if we can be the drone above their forest, okay? All right, so allow us, forest, allow us today to be the drone above your forest. If you're lost in the woods, if you have too many clients saying, I think I'm going to go in a different direction, you're lost in the woods. Allow us to be your drone, and we can say, listen, this is the direction here, versus a client saying, I'm going to go in a direction there. We're trying to prepare you for the fact that if they're thinking it, we want to steer you on a different path. Brian, I know we're getting close. Chris Lytle's getting ready to roll. Any more questions, or one more out of the bucket?
Yeah, there are plenty of questions out here on the chat or on the text line, and gosh, I haven't even looked over here on the chat side. So lots of questions on the text line, but yeah, pull one more very, very quickly. Ending remarks too, and I'd like to cue this up for Chris.
Well, this and Jamie, I know, is going to talk more about this. I just pulled this one out of the bucket. This comes from Indiana. Is AI going to take my sales job? We're hearing more and more about AI.
Yep.
Jamie's going to talk about AI. I know that we'll enter in and out of it throughout the day. I don't think AI is going to take your sales job.
No.
But I think those of you who are resistant to educating yourself on AI and how you can use it and how it can help you, you run the risk of other people who are investing and engaging AI taking your sales job.
That's exactly it. AI is not going to take it. The guy across the hall that is using AI, they'll take your job. Because there's too many things that they can use to benefit. You can do a complete overview of one of my favorites that we did with AI is I was working on questions for a CNA. And I went through and I asked, what are some questions I shouldn't be asking? I never would have thought of that. It came up with like 3 or 4 different areas. It's like, that's a good point. And I might have gone there and then it points you in the right direction. It just makes you better. So don't be afraid of it. Embrace it.
Yeah, AI is a tool. And listen, I remember when the 8-track was going to kill radio, the cassette was going to kill radio, the CD was going to kill radio, the iPod was going to kill radio. You can't even get an iPod now, right? Something's always, streaming's going to kill radio. And radio is still there because you still have to find a place to hear the music, what's new, what's happening. Those who rely on AI to do the content creating and all the work could put themselves in real danger. As long as you are creative and good at creating content, you use AI as a tool, as a starting point, and then you build on it. The big thing right now is to have AI write my commercials. And it'll churn out a decent commercial, but not a great one. And then everybody will just have the same commercials going, or the same digital going, written by the same AI, because it's pulling from all the same sources. You have it write your commercial, then look at it and say, how can I make this much better, more specific to my client, and for sure going to get results. And you build on what AI put out, you will always be in demand.
Yeah.
Okay, I would just end it with this. We think AI is artificial intelligence, and it is, and the concerns that come with that. If you would let AI be appointments and ideas and focus on that, if you would let AI be always ignite, meaning every single day you're going to get up and you're going to light your own fire and go do what you do, then you're less likely for AI, artificial intelligence, to affect you because you're doing all the things on the other side that you need to be doing.